Would you stop? What are you doing?
Hey everyone. Sorry, we went live just a second early there. But happy Friday. We are happy to be with you.
Yes. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving.
Yes, as you know, if any of you know, we went down to Dallas and got to see the Cowboys play what are we calling them now, John?
The Commies.
The Commies live. And that was a lot of fun. It was our first time ever seeing a game down at Jerry World, and we were able to take a tour beforehand. That was a lot of fun as well, getting to see the locker rooms and all the kind of backstage stuff and where the Cowboys come out. It was a lot of fun.
It was. And hopefully everyone was able to snag some decent Black Friday deals for streaming. There were some decent ones out there. We were offline most of the week, so got some of them out there. But yeah, there were some pretty decent ones available last week.
Yep, we were able to snag Hulu and Disney Plus again for a year at the $199 a month rate,
Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah.
So hopefully some of you got to enjoy that as well. It's time of year to do shopping, right? So, and even though we were off, the streaming industry wasn't, and there's been plenty of news for us to get caught up on. And seeing as we already have several of you in here with us, we'll go ahead and get started with our first piece of news, which is about Netflix and some new gaming that they have gotten into. Let me get that up here for y'all. So I don't know who in our audience is a gaming fan or is a fan of Grand Theft Auto. I personally have not really gotten into that, though I do know what it is. But it is one of the main gaming properties out there. And Netflix announced this week that it plans to offer the Grand Theft Auto trilogy on its mobile gaming platform. So this is a big play for them. And in this article that we have up from Yahoo Finance, they talk about how this really is the future of streaming and for
Netflix at least.
For Netflix and Netflix to be able to make itself stickier, it needs to do something more than just content.
Other streams of revenue, essentially.
Yep, other streams of revenue, and they already have now more than 80 mobile games and are planning to add more. It's going to arrive on the Netflix platform in 2 weeks, so on December 14th on the Netflix mobile app. And then also there are other places you can get it too, but just worth saying that the Netflix co-CEO Greg Peters said that he views gaming as a huge entertainment opportunity. $140 billion worth of consumer spend on games outside of China and Russia. It's also worth noting that Microsoft's ultimate goal is to make its cloud-based Xbox gaming platform available on mobile devices. So I mean, this is kind of in this area, this is who Netflix is competing with, is Microsoft. Apple is also an enormous force in the mobile gaming industry. And I know for sure Netflix is viewing it as a way to make its own original content a little stickier with people. I know that they've tried to develop some games for some of their more popular original series. And, they kind of want to be like Disney that way, where you watch something on their platform and then you can continue to engage with it through a game or, buy some merchandise if you really like it. And those are all ways that they can make more money off their content. For sure,
Definitely. Hey, Christy. Hey, Woodage. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? I could see your point, Woodage. I think in part it's really a way for them to try and layer themselves, and as Nicole was saying, stickier, and just gives them another revenue. We personally aren't gamers, and I don't think a lot of our viewers are gamers, but who knows? But the next and more interesting to me, there was a report that came out this week from Deloitte that more tiers are coming to streaming. And we actually have a predictions video that's going to be coming out in about a week or two on our predictions or thoughts of what's going to happen in the streaming space next year. but wanted to touch on it today. This study, this report that came out said that the top streamers are set to more than double their available pricing tiers next year in 2024. And you look at someone like Netflix, who's got 3 or 4 plans. Hulu's there too, and so they're saying that the average streaming platform has 4 tiers, and they're predicting that it's going to go to at least 8 tiers for the top streaming platforms. And so, what we've seen this year is most of the streaming services have raised their prices or introduced new tiers. The HBO, the Max, Bleacher Report sports add-on is one example. That's $10 a month starting in March. Netflix, had its price increase. Disney Plus and introduced a cheaper ad-based tier. Amazon is set to roll out an ad-supported plan, really forced ad-supported plan. And so what they're saying is that what they're predicting is going to come with that is some premium options and some of these higher end tiers. Some other options is maybe offering, like 4K or Dolby Vision. But the one thing that really stuck out to me and is not surprising at all whatsoever is the possibility of making some of these tiers more almost like cable, to where you've got to prepay for a year to get these plans, so locking you in for a year, maybe even toying with the whole contract idea that DirectTV Stream was doing that we discussed a couple weeks ago, possibly offering sports as one of the tiers, again, like the Max plan, and we're doing a pay-per-view type of thing, like ESPN Plus offers for some of its UFC stuff.
And John, I think you kind of touched on it, but I think I read as well they could choose to take some of their most popular programming and make it only available to certain tiers, or if you subscribe to an annual plan or something like that.
I didn't say that, but yes, that is one of the things that it was saying. And
just different ways that they can get more money out of there.
And that's really, what this is about, is for them to make more money, which is not a surprise at all whatsoever. And that there could also be more variability on the low end with ad-supported plans. And the Deloitte reports found that us as consumers were willing to accept more ads per hour if it meant a cheaper service. Mm-hmm. And I know that ads are usually a hot button topic for many of us as streamers. And I think we need to be prepared for the fact that at some point down the road, in the not too distant future, streaming ads are going to become more like linear ads, where we're going to see that 15-minute block per hour of ads. And Paramount Plus is already fairly bad. Most of them are okay, but it's going to continue that way. And I can't remember what, we were watching something this week, I think it was on Max, and it was 3 ad blocks, or 1 ad block, and all 3 ads were the same exact ad. And so we may run into something like that. We've never seen anything like that before on Max, but it was just interesting. That was literally 3 ads, all the same, within 1 ad block.
And our daughter and I watched something this morning on Disney Plus that you could tell it was about a 45-minute program that was intended and created for TV, because they had the ad breaks in them for TV, where they had scripted in "we'll be back" and then "welcome back," and then that they had scheduled about 3 streaming ad breaks within that piece of content, and the original way it was laid out had called for about double that. I think I counted 6 or 7 planned ad breaks. And so it was just a really interesting thing to watch it on a streaming platform and see how many more ads there are on like cable TV, and that is where we're going.
Yeah. And there was a quote.
Unfortunately.
At Deloitte, there was this quote from the Deloitte report that really sort of stuck out to me. And it was, "It has been said that history doesn't exactly repeat, but it does often rhyme. And in 2024, we will likely see a return of some of the mechanisms and business models that helped media and entertainment companies become highly profitable before the streaming revolution."
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see if this really does pan out. And I agree that's a great point, Woodage, in terms of what channels Roku will add. The major free streaming services are all regularly adding channels, and I think that's really where it's going to go. And also a fair point is it's gonna die like cable eventually. Who knows what will become the next wave?
Right.
And,
what's going to be the next disruptor?
Yeah, and we're going to discuss this more in depth in our predictions video, but I think we're getting ready to see another major shift, and I think we're honestly already in the beginnings of it.
And then if we do come full circle on this thing, at the end of it all, the only thing that will have changed is how the content was delivered.
Yes.
Over cable versus wireless internet or digital internet. So
exactly. And the questions regarding Disney Plus and Hulu we're actually getting ready to touch on here in a second.
And I do see there's a question about how to game on Netflix. It's on the mobile app, so on either a tablet or your smartphone. If you have a subscription to Netflix, open it up on your phone. I've done that, and then there is a section that will appear for games, and you can go in that and download them to your phone for free and play them. Yeah. So people have said it's not ideal, obviously, and I guess there are contraptions. You can add controllers to your phone to make it more of like a traditional gaming controller. And then I suppose you could project that onto your TV screen somehow. It really feels like, I don't know how Netflix would ever actually compete with like Microsoft on gaming, but that's what they're paying people big bucks to figure out how to do. But it should not interrupt your experience if you're watching Netflix just on TV.
Yeah. And then sort of dovetailing with this is, and not to get political at all, but the Biden administration came out over the last week or so, and they've sort of been on one of their things they want to do is try and eliminate what they call junk fees for consumers that have been around for years. Common examples would be like hotel resort fees or fees to cancel cable. Well, the Biden administration through the FCC has a proposed rule that would bar pay TV companies from charging customers early termination fees. So like DirectTV, when they charge an early termination fee, when they sever service before the contract expires. The proposal, which the commission will vote on now this month, would also force cable companies and satellite services to give customers a rebate if a subscriber leaves before a billing cycle ends. The FCC officials say that eliminating early termination fees would benefit the video streaming business. The FCC chairwoman says, Jessica Rosenworcel, I'm probably butchering her that last name, but when companies charge customers early termination fees, it limits their freedom to choose the service they want. In an increasingly competitive media market, we should make it easier for Americans to use their purchasing power to promote innovation and expand competition within the industry. Completely agree. Fees should be gone. Unfortunately, this is decades too late. Even
the article said 15 years too late.
Yeah, it's far too late. And Biden said earlier this week that companies shouldn't lock you into services you don't want with large fees. It's unfair, raises costs, and stifles competition. We're doing something about it. With the exception of the last sentence, I completely agree with it. The statement or the sentiment, and I understand that they're trying to do something. Unfortunately, this is DC, so it's at least 2 decades too late. And if it does happen, the
wheels of government grind slowly.
Yes, the horse will be far out of the barn, and already is.
So it could. I will say this: it could be interesting for those who still have cable. It could bring a much long-needed benefit to them, and not everyone's going to get rid of cable. Again,
No.
we'll talk about more of this in our predictions video, but analysts think that there is a floor for cable and that it's around 50 million people, and that is still hugely profitable for media companies. So that channel is going to stay in some, maybe even limited form.
Yeah, and it will also be interesting given what's going on between the major live streaming services and local channels, and them battling with the local networks operators wanting streaming services to be thought of as cable services. Well, YouTube TV and Hulu Live and like don't want to be considered that way. So would a plan like this, how would that deal with live TV streaming services? And I'm assuming, given that it's DC, that they've not thought about that. I could obviously be wrong, but that could present another interesting wrinkle to all of this. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this when our children are having children. Maybe this will be taken care of. So,
and I should just mention that even though cable will remain, there have been similar thoughts that who knows what you'll actually be able to watch on it. Because as studios invest more money in making streaming popular, they're going to reserve their best content for streaming platforms. So we'll see. It probably, like John said, it really is too little too late by the government. But maybe they can do something with Google and Facebook and direct their attention towards them now. But, since some of you did ask about Hulu and Disney Plus, let's get over to that. So Hulu and Disney Plus apps are merging this month. They are going to have one single new app. Disney had promised this was going to happen in 2023, and now it looks like it will be December, at least as an initial rollout. Each platform will still have its own service. So you're still going to have the Hulu app. There's still going to be a Disney Plus app. ESPN Plus will still have its own app. But from what we've seen, what you're going to start to see is within Disney Plus, there'll be a Hulu icon there that you can click, and it'll take you into the Hulu app. This is only on-demand content. This is not Hulu Live, but it is Hulu, cataloged content and originals and things like that. Why are they doing this? So Disney wants to increase its revenue, right? Isn't that what the story always is? And combining them into like some kind of single platform, merging them together creates more advertising opportunities. And so that is, it's all about selling ads. They are expecting better engagement here with this move, more ad revenue, maybe the need less money spent trying to acquire customers, and hopefully lower churn. They're hoping that this will improve the streaming experience for subscribers that have both apps, so you don't have to get out and get back in to each of them singly. So I think I did say this, Hulu Live is going to remain its own independent app. A beta version of the combined app is expected to be launched this month, and there's an official launch coming in the spring of 2024. So this month they are hoping that existing subscribers can go in and set up their account profiles and kind of things like that and work out some bugs. And it should also give Disney Plus subscribers access to more of the mature content that's on Hulu that hasn't been on Disney Plus. One other thing to note about Disney and how all of this is impacting it a little more broadly is just a reminder that in October, Disney hiked its bundle prices. The increase did not affect ad-supported plans, but it did push ad-free plans up a couple of dollars a month for both Disney Plus and Hulu. It's also set to increase its premium subscription fees again. And so what can we expect in the new year? Once the merger goes through, I think it's reasonable to expect a price increase, but we'll see. Disney hasn't announced anything like that yet. And then also it'll be interesting to see what they do with their bundles and their bundle pricing. So it's something we're going to have to keep watching.
Yeah, and as Woodage says, ESPN Plus is just sort of sitting out there dangling on its own. It would be nice to see everything rolled in for the people that want that. But I imagine part of it is their standalone streaming option coming at some point. And with Disney, it seems to change week to week, if not every few days to every few days, in terms of what they're doing, whether they're selling, whether they're looking for a partner, what they're doing. But I'm imagining that part of the reason why it's out there is because of that. So who's to say? Anything else?
No.
Okay. Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that's especially in our experience and our testing different times with Hulu Live. The technology has been lackluster with having different UX issues. And so it'll be interesting to see how they marry these together. Hey, Pat, that's hi from Ocala. That's about 15, 20 minutes from where my mom and her husband live. They live in Crystal River, Florida. Next story is we've spoken quite a bit about how live sports is continuing to get, what's the word I want? It's
more fragmented.
Yeah, it's getting more fragmented.
It's getting harder to watch your team's games.
And got reported this week that NASCAR is going to be going to some races are going to be going to Amazon and WBD's TNT in 2025. Now, Fox and NBC carry the majority of NASCAR races now for some time, and they will continue to carry the majority of the 38 annual races. But Prime Video and TNT are now being added to the mix. It's a 7-year deal for the Cup Series. It's a $7.7 billion 7-year deal, which is a 40% increase over the current agreement. Set to begin in 2025, going through 2031. And Fox and NBC will both have 14 races per season. And as is the case with the current deal, Fox will have the opening portion of the season, and beginning with the Daytona 500, and NBC Sports will have the rights to the final 14 races, including the Cup Series playoffs and the championship race. Now, in between those, Prime Video and TNT will each have exclusive rights to 5 races per season. Both outlets' set of contests will run in consecutive weeks. Now, Prime Video will be the first streaming exclusive partner for NASCAR and adds a second major U.S. sport to its portfolio, along with the Thursday night NFL package. And the TNT races will also be on Max as a part of that platform through the Bleacher Report Sports add-on. And True TV and Max will also carry practice and qualifying sessions during the second half of the season. Now, we're not personally fans of NASCAR, but we know that there are a lot of NASCAR fans out there. And again, this is concerning largely on the one hand that this is further fragmenting, spreading out live sports. And while Amazon would say it's good because it's going to get exclusive races to its Prime Video customers, it's also arguably taking them from someone that might be able to get them OTA on Fox or NBC. And that is really where the rub comes in with this, in my opinion. And they also reported this week, Amazon did, that they want to go after getting NBA playoff games and doing similar to what Peacock is doing this season, with having an exclusive game here on the 23rd, I believe it is, and then an exclusive playoff game. And so this is more shifting and more fragmenting of live sports. And that's really, by and large, that's the main thing that TV viewers are looking for. That's why a lot of people stay with cable, and it's why a big reason why a lot of people will pick a live TV streaming service, because they're a big baseball fan or a big football fan, and they don't want to miss those games. And so this is going to make it more difficult for NASCAR fans, and arguably NBA fans, if Amazon is able to secure it, to watch those games. And that is a
I think it's interesting because you can apply the same thinking to football, which we do watch a lot of football, and realizing all the money Amazon laid out to get the Thursday night football games. I think sports leagues and media companies, to some extent, they're all dipping their toes in the water of what NASCAR races can we get, what NFL games can we get. Obviously, the more they're willing to pay, the more they're going to get. But these leagues, at least with NASCAR, they're not taking the biggest race. Just like they're not going to put the Super Bowl and make it streaming only. But they are just testing the waters and seeing, because they know, like having a Peacock having an exclusive playoff football game, that's going to upset some people, because you could argue there are more people who are going to want to watch all the playoff games than are going to want to watch every regular season game. And many people can be really, pretty strong fans of the NFL and live without seeing the Thursday night games. But how are they going to feel? Look at what happened with Ohio State when they had their first streaming only game on Peacock, and how many people that upset, to the point of getting like state government involved.
And people, the same thing happened with Nebraska football this season too. People were upset about it.
So I don't know how much of a ripple effect that's going to have with the NASCAR fan base, and we aren't, as like John said, as familiar with it. But I do think it's worth stopping and talking about, because it is the beginning of a trend that is going to result in making it, if you really want to see everything, it's just going to be almost impossible unless you're willing to spend a lot of money for it, and probably more maybe than you would have under a cable plan.
That, or if you're savvy and comfortable enough to go try a service just get it for a couple of games and then cancel it. And Steve's absolutely right. It's going to force people to watch less sports. And unless you are fine paying whatever, or you are savvy enough and on top of it enough to get the plan that you get, the service you want for a game, and then cancel it and not run into errantly forgetting to cancel, that's what it's going to cause. Thank you, Gino. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Gino.
And that's interesting wattage on Apple TV Plus. We're about ready to need to test that again ourselves, and there's some stuff that we want to watch. And interesting that it works great on your on your Xbox, but not smart TV.
Our son got a PS5 for his birthday, and he has been telling us about all the streaming apps you can watch on the PS5, and I just thought it was funny because this week he said, "Mom, you can buy this thing that turns the controller into a remote and use it to," and I said, "Well, you could, but we have a Roku and we have a Fire Stick, so why would we do that?" But if you don't, and all you have is a gaming system, I can see the appeal there. So before we leave sports, we wanted to talk quickly about ESPN. Here we're talking about cable and how it's changing and all of that. And so this was just an interesting note more on the sporting front, that ESPN has lost almost 4 million subscribers, and the Major League Baseball Network has lost over 11 million subscribers just this year, in the past year. As cord cutting has grown. So ESPN has lost that number of subscribers since December of last year. And that's according to a report from Nielsen and Sports TV Ratings. MLB Network was hit the hardest after it was dropped. It was dropped by YouTube TV earlier this year. But other networks are also feeling that pressure. So FS1 lost over 3 million, BTN, Big Ten Network, lost over 2 million, TNT lost more than 4 million, and then NFL Network only lost 281,000, and they're saying that's because they had deals with like DirectTV Stream that kept that in place. So, and all of that is happening as the U.S. added 1.2 million new TV homes this year. So it's just, again, taking another look at that trend that cord cutters are ditching any kind of traditional pay TV service, whether that be cable or live TV streaming service, because why? They're getting more expensive, and they're opting instead for, on-demand options or things like Max and Netflix. And so it's just, again, like we've been saying, there is a dramatic shift happening right now in how Americans are watching TV. And, if you're, let me get us back to get our comments up there. If you're not into sports, and I think this is the point we wanted to end on this piece of news about, is that if you're not into sports, there is really no reason to pay for a live TV streaming service. And I think Pat...
There was actually one last piece that we...
I'm not... Okay, sorry. And like Pat said, you say you love Philo and Pluto, and that's great, because if you don't need live sports, or you're okay with just what you can get on your antenna, you can really keep your costs down. But if you're not willing to do that, it's just going to get more and more expensive, and be harder for you to, what you're paying for, to even get what you had in the past.
Yeah, and I'll cover this. The one last thing is, you may have heard about the another carriage dispute. This time it's between DirectTV Stream, DirectTV and AT&T TV and DirectTV Stream with Tegna, Tegna. Starting, it's today, I believe, is when it's supposed to start. If not today, tomorrow. It's going to impact 60 plus different stations in around 50 U.S. markets. And some of the main ones that it's affecting are Dallas, Denver, and Phoenix. And I know some stations in Iowa are being affected. We live close to Iowa, so we hear about that. But this, again, comes down to money. And unfortunately, what do we have coming up this weekend? We have important NFL games. We have college football conference championship games starting tonight. And so you have, Dallas, and that's going to impact people that want to watch the Big 12 championship. And so anyway, the deal ended between them yesterday. So it's a blackout. And DirectTV just resolved a 2-month dispute with Nexstar that ended a 2-month blackout of 176 local channels. And then, of course, the Charter Disney one. And I read earlier today that DirectTV Stream has been emailing some customers, and the keyword some customers, that they could get a $25 gift card if they're impacted. So if you are a DirectTV Stream customer and you've not been contacted by them, contact customer service. And this is, unfortunately, I believe we're going to continue to see this happen. And it'll be interesting to see where this goes over the next year, as local broadcast owners and live TV services continue to battle over carriage fees and these disputes.
Yeah. Hey, if Michigan fans, you do have a lot to celebrate today, don't you? I see that comment there. Go Blue. That was a good game. We watched what we could of it while we were in the snow down in Manhattan, Kansas on Saturday. For 20 plus years for me of following K-State, and my first snow game, and it really did snow like for 9 hours.
The whole game.
So
yes.
it was an experience, I'll say that, but one that I'm not necessarily looking to repeat anytime soon.
Yeah, we're still warming up.
And then the last thing I'd say, Pat, I see your comment down there. That's interesting. We have this coming out in one of our videos that's publishing soon. The kind of TV you're describing is actually one of the most popular types of programming that people like to watch. And so some of the fast services like Pluto and others that have kind of classic TV, and by classic now we're talking about even things that ran in the 90s and 2000s and stuff, but that's kind of what people want, and those apps have it, and they have it for free. albeit you got to sit through the ads, but
Yeah.
so. Yeah, whoever you're cheering for this weekend, or whatever plans you have, we hope you have a great weekend. Just to let you all know, next week will be our last live stream for the year, because we're going to be traveling after that. So please plan to come back and join us next Friday, and then we will plan to see you all in the new year.
Yep, for sure. Have a great weekend, everyone.
All right.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.